Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Monday, October 6th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today will reach 79.8 degrees with a low of 59.2, making for a pleasant fall day ideal for outdoor activities without the summer heat. Coming up, we'll examine how the Supreme Court might reshape the scope of presidential authority in a potential Trump era, and uncover the safety issues leading to the massive recall of chicken corn dogs across the country. Plus, other key stories on global tensions, local innovations, and more. All this and the latest updates on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. As we kick off this crisp October day, the U.S. Supreme Court has just opened its 2025-2026 term, and it's already shaping up to be a blockbuster season, testing the limits of presidential power. Joining me now to unpack this is our Supreme Court correspondent Ethan, who's been digging into the docket. Ethan, welcome. What makes this term so pivotal, especially with President Trump's second administration in full swing?
Thanks, Grace. Absolutely. It's like the justices are refereeing a high-stakes power play between the White House and the other branches. According to reporting from ABC News, CNN, and Bloomberg Law, this term could redefine executive authority big time. The court convened today at 10 a.m., with Chief Justice John Roberts in his 20th year leading the 9 justices. After a summer filled with emergency shadow docket applications, where Trump won about 86% of them per CNN, the focus is on cases challenging statutes like the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. That's the 1977 law meant to limit emergency powers from the older Trading with the Enemy Act. Plus, with the Chevron doctrine overturned last term in Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo, as the Brennan Center notes, agencies might lose even more independence, letting presidents politicize things more.
Shadow docket sounds shadowy indeed. Can you explain what that is for folks tuning in and how it's tied to Trump's agenda?
Sure, the shadow docket is this behind-the-scenes way the court handles urgent requests without full arguments, often staying lower court rulings. ABC News reports Trump scored interim wins in over a dozen such cases this summer on immigration, government overhauls, and more, letting policies roll forward temporarily. But now, merits decisions could lock in or limit that power by early 2026. Legal expert Jeffrey Rosen from the National Constitution Center, quoted in ABC News, warns unchecked support for orders like those on birthright citizenship or tariffs could spark biased perceptions. A Gallup poll cited by CNN shows stark polarization, with 79% Republican approval of the court versus just 14% from Democrats.
Tariffs seem central here. Walk us through the big case on that front and why it's such a taxing issue, pun intended.
Ha, taxing indeed, Grace. The consolidated cases Learning Resources Incorporated versus Trump, docket number 24-1287, and Trump versus VOS Selections Incorporated, number 25-250, are set for oral arguments in just 30 days on November 5, 2025, as detailed by SCOTUS blog and Newsweek. These challenge Trump's use of IEEPA to slap reciprocal tariffs on imports from China, Canada, Mexico, and dozens more, declared under national emergencies starting February 1st this year. ABC News and Brookings Institution analyses say these are among the largest tax hikes without Congress, potentially raking in tens of billions, but risking economic turmoil.
Break down how these tariffs came about and what the challengers are arguing.
Trump declared unusual threats from fentanyl trafficking, illegal immigration, and trade deficits. On February 1st, per ABC News, he hit most Canadian and Mexican imports with 25% tariffs, 10% on Chinese goods, later bumped to 20% on March 4th for China. Things escalated April 2nd, dubbed Liberation Day by Executive Order 14257, with a universal 10% on nearly all non-sanctioned imports from April 5th, according to White House records in J.D. Supra and Tax Foundation reports. Then country-specific ones on August 7th, from 11 to 50% for trade deficit nations, like 40% extra on Brazil, July 30th tied to Jair Bolsonaro charges, and 25% secondary on India July 31st for Russia ties. Congress.gov and AE. I say it's about reciprocity, but critics like the Tax Foundation call it a sneaky congressional bypass.
And the lower courts sided against this. What's the Supreme Court angle?
Yes, the U.S. Court of International Trade ruled them illegal May 28th in VOS Selections Incorporated versus United States and Oregon versus Department of Homeland Security, finding no rational link between emergencies and broad tariffs, per Lawfare and the Federal Circuit blog. They vacated and enjoined enforcement. The Federal Circuit affirmed 7-4 August 29th, saying IEEPA does not authorize wide-ranging tariffs, since that's core congressional turf under the Constitution, but stayed it until October 14th, or Supreme Court say so, letting Customs collect for now. Cert was granted September 9th, consolidated, with briefing done by October 30th, per supremecourt.gov via SCOTUS blog. Questions are, if IEEPA covers these proclamations and orders, like 10.886 and 14.157 to 14.195, and 14.257, and if it unconstitutionally delegates power. Challengers, toy importer Learning Resources hit by China tariffs, Winefolks VOS, and states like Oregon argue IEEPA curbs powers, does not explicitly say tariffs, meant for sanctions not taxes, per 1977 House Report on Congress.gov. They cite non-delegation and major questions doctrines from Federal Circuit and Wilmer Hale takes, saying big economic hits need clear Congress intent. The administration, via DOJ in Gibson Dunn and Inside Trade, says regulate importation includes tariffs, citing 1975's United States versus Yoshida upholding a Nixon surcharge, but no pre-2025 court-okayed peacetime IEEPA tariffs on allies, per Lawfare and Brookings.
Outcomes could be huge. What if they rule for or against?
Seismic either way, per Newsweek and Tax Foundation. Challengers win, tariffs struck, billions refunded over $50 billion, collected by now per Avalera, maybe paper checks to businesses, easing inflation but restoring Congress control. Uphold, expands executive trade power for future presidents, per Investopedia, shaking supply chains, midterms, foreign policy. ABC News' James Sample calls it monumental separation of powers.
Beyond tariffs, there are cases on firing agency officials. Fill us in.
Right, 2 December cases, test firing Democratic holdovers. Trump versus Slaughter. Arguments late 2025 per CNN and ABC News. Challenges axing a Federal Trade Commission member March 2025 without cause, defying Humphrey's executor from 1935 that protects independent agencies like FTC, FCC, National Labor Relations Board. Bloomberg law ties it to immigration wage fights. Then Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, Biden appointee, fired August 2025 over supposed mortgage fraud with dual residences, which she calls manufactured for Trump's Fed gripes. A shadow docket kept her till 2026, but merits hit if removal protections violate separation of powers. Hofstra's James Sample in ABC News says it's huge for the Fed. Post-Chevron overturned June 2024 per acslaw.org. No more deference to agency interpretations, inviting regulation challenges on environment, labor. Overturning Humphreys, as Skadden and White and Case predict, lets presidents pick loyalists, eroding independence. Jennifer New sees net presidential wins, but Eric Miser warns of stare decisis damage.
And immigration, like birthright citizenship.
Trump's Day One order ends it. Challenging 14th Amendment, blocked below. Expedited review per ABC News Rosen, likeliest Trump curb. Could impact millions. Arguments late winter. CNN notes shadow wins ending Venezuelan protections for 300,000, with Justice Jackson dissenting October 3rd on disrupting lives and lifting California restrictions, but due process for detainees held. Bloomberg law adds blocks on protest troop deployments.
Broader picture, with shutdown threats.
Yes, amid IRS furloughs of 35,000 per Bloomberg law, it could boost unitary executive theory per ABC News, overhauling agencies. Roberts Court overturns precedents like abortion, affirmative action at half post-World War II rate, per Adler, hurting credibility. SCOTUS blog's Sarah Isger says temporary wins hide hurdles. Outcomes by spring 2026 could amp presidential sway on economy, rights, but tank trust, with Pew's 71% Republican favorability. Trump's 50% plus emergency wins beat Biden's per CNN, making court executive excess referee.
Wow, a term full of boundary pushing, literally. Thanks for that thorough breakdown, Ethan.
My pleasure, Grace.
Welcome back to our morning broadcast. Today, we're turning to a serious food safety alert that's got everyone checking their freezers. Chloe, our food and health reporter, joins us with details on a massive recall from Foster Farms involving chicken corn dogs contaminated with wood fragments. Chloe, what can you tell us about this?
Thanks, Grace. Yes, it's a sticky situation, pun intended, since these are corn dogs on sticks. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service, or FSIS as it's commonly known, Foster Poultry Farms based in Livingston, California, has voluntarily recalled about 3.843 million pounds of frozen, ready-to-eat chicken corn dog products. That's precisely 3,843,040 pounds, to be exact. The recall was announced just 2 days ago on October 4, 2025, and it's classified as a Class 1 recall, which means there's a reasonable probability of serious adverse health consequences or even death from consuming them.
That's alarming. For our viewers who might not be familiar with recall classifications, why is Class 1 the most severe?
Exactly, Grace. FSIS uses 3 classes, and Class 1 is the highest priority because the risks are so high. In this case, the wood fragments embedded in the batter could cause choking hazards, lacerations, or other injuries. So far, FSIS reports at least 5 confirmed consumer injuries from these pieces, but no illnesses beyond that have been documented. The problem started in the production process at their facility marked with establishment number P6137B, which you'll see inside the USDA mark of inspection on the packaging. Investigations kicked off after a consumer complaint about an injury around October 4th, revealing that wood, likely from sticks or fragments, got into the battering stage before the corn dogs were fully made.
And the timeline of affected products?
The contaminated items were produced from July 30th, 2024 to August 4th, 2025, so that's over a year of production. They include products like chicken corn dogs, batter-wrapped chicken frankfurters on a stick, and corn dogs chicken franks dipped in honey batter, sold in multi-packs like 12-count or bulk for institutions. Check the lot codes on packaging to match that time frame, and look for varying UPC codes by retailer. These were distributed nationwide to all 50 states, hitting grocery chains, wholesale clubs, online sellers, and even institutional buyers like Department of Defense military facilities and USDA commodity foods recipients. Some went to schools through commercial sales, but none were part of the National School Lunch Program, as FSIS has confirmed.
Foster Farms has had issues before, right? How are they responding?
Yes, they've had prior recalls, including ones for salmonella. In their official statement, they stress consumer safety comes first. They're cooperating with FSIS, which is doing recall effectiveness checks to ensure distributors get notified and products are pulled from shelves. No specific mechanical failure has been detailed publicly beyond the wood entering the line, but consumers shouldn't eat, sell, or serve these. Toss them or return for a full refund. For help, call Foster Farms Consumer Affairs at 1-800-338-8051, weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, or email info@fosterfarms.com. For food safety questions, the USDA Meat and Poultry Hotline is 1-888-867-46854, or email mphotline@usda.gov with a 24/7 online system at foodcomplaint.fsis.usda.gov/ECCF.
This isn't the first such recall recently. Is there a connection to the one last week?
It's eerily similar, Grace, like two peas in a pod, or should I say two sticks in the batter? Just a week ago, on September 27th to 30th, Hillshire Brands Company, a Tyson Foods subsidiary, recalled about 58 million pounds of corn dog and sausage on a stick products under brands like State Fair and Jimmy Dean. That was FSIS Recall ID 030-2025, also due to wood fragments in the batter after multiple complaints and 5 injuries. Produced from March 17th to September 26th, 2025, at their Haltom City, Texas facility with establishment numbers EST 582 or P894. Those went nationwide too, including schools commercially, food service, and DoD, but not the National School Lunch Program. They traced it to wooden sticks entering the line, calling it isolated. No confirmed link to Foster Farms, which is in California, despite the parallels in scale and issue.
So, what's FSIS doing to prevent more of these?
They're reinforcing rules without new overhauls yet. Earlier this year, they updated Directive 7310.5, Revision 4, on foreign material in meat and poultry, requiring hazard analysis and critical control point, or HACCP, plans for detection and handling adulterated products. That's key here, as wood is a top recall trigger in processed foods. They're hosting webinars soon. Benchmarking your foreign material contamination program on October 15th. That's 9 days from now, and preventing foreign material contamination with the FM maturity model on October 30th, 24 days away, to help industry improve.
Vital info for families, schools, and service members who rely on these staples. Thanks for breaking it all down so clearly, Chloe.
You're welcome, Grace. Stay safe out there.
Here are some other headlines. A federal judge has put new guardrails on the use of, guards. U.S. District Judge Corinne Immergut issued an expanded temporary restraining order on Sunday, October 5th, blocking the Trump administration from deploying any federalized National Guard troops to Oregon after attempts to send units from California and Texas to Portland. The move followed her Saturday ruling halting plans to use Oregon's own guard to protect a federal immigration facility. She wrote the administration's actions appear to violate federal law and the 10th Amendment, an Oregon trail the White House can't take for now. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek and California Governor Gavin Newsom called the proposed deployment an unconstitutional abuse of power, meant to incite conflict. The TRO stands until October 19th, while the states seek a permanent ruling. The Justice Department says it will appeal, hoping to reverse course before time runs out. In Paris, the Prime Minister's time ran out faster than a baguette in a bread line. Sébastien Lecornu resigned Monday morning after less than a month in office, a cabinet shuffle that turned into a cabinet scuffle. His near-identical lineup to his predecessor drew fury and threats of a no-confidence vote. Blaming partisan appetites and a diet of no compromise, Lecornu exits as the third prime minister to depart in a year, the shortest serving in modern French history. The political soufflé sags right as budget season heats up. 2 predecessors were ousted over that same fiscal fracas. Now opposition leaders on the far left and far right are urging Macron to dissolve parliament and call snap elections, turning a budget into a ballot in the blink of an Élysée. Japan is poised to shatter a glass shoji. Sanae Takaichi, a hardline conservative and protege of Shinzo Abe, won the Liberal Democratic Party leadership on October 4th and is expected to be elected prime minister by mid-October, becoming the country's first woman to hold the post. Her runoff win over Agriculture Minister Shinjiro Koizumi is historic, but not necessarily reformist. Analysts note she's no standard-bearer for feminism. Her inbox is overflowing, taming rising prices, scrubbing scandal stain from the LDP, and steering a fractured parliament where the ruling coalition lacks a majority in either house. Her staunch stances, including visits to the contentious Yasukuni Shrine, could chill ties with coalition partner Komito, complicating her mandate. Abroad, A Japan first, tilt may jar China and South Korea as she navigates relations with the United States under President Donald Trump. Diplomacy that could be a delicate sashimi slice. OPEC Plus is threading a needle with a very crude thread. 8 members agreed to lift output by 137,000 barrels per day in November, mirroring October's modest bump and unwinding cuts first applied in April 2023. With low inventories and a steady global outlook, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, the UAE, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and Oman hope to keep prices balanced, walking a tightrope while over a barrel. The group reconvenes November 2, 2025, reserving the right to pause or reverse if markets slip. And in U.S. health policy, the FDA scripted a new chapter in the pill plot, approving a second generic version of mifepristone for Evita Solutions used through 10 weeks of pregnancy. The agency says it has limited discretion when a generic is shown identical to the brand, a case of generics in general. The decision, coming weeks after HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced a full safety review of a drug deemed safe and effective for 25 years, sparked swift conservative criticism, including from Senator Josh Hawley, while abortion rights advocates cheered access. Evita says its product could hit shelves in January 2026. Mark your capsules. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.